I bet
I heard about it.
Oh, I saw you change your fan. Because I forgot about, and I actually think we're going to try to go.
anyway.
Continue. Yeah. I didn't know it when I first said it. You probably too.
Very end on time to look at it and discuss it.
I told Jamie, I was like, yeah.
Forward.
Because he was like,
I like
thought we were going to continue.
what I looked
I said,
at.
oh, I didn't even realize it was the same. And I was like, but that was really the only time I could do it. So I said, well,
Let me see how
I
this
won't
works.
worry about it. So I told him he could take the
I'll
girls.
wait a little bit
Want it in
until
the
the next meeting.
The concept I like.
You want it in the center? Candy in the way. Y'all gonna talk around the candy? Yes, sir.
Oh, all right, Sam.
Any of y'all been skating yet? I gotta go ice skating.
I haven't been.
Tamika, you been out there
We
yet?
should have gone last weekend.
Ice skating.
I have not. I will probably go next week when the girls
gonna
have
go.
school.
I'm gonna shut down tomorrow.
I know you can skate. You're so good at all that stuff.
Long
I went the
time.
very first year, but
Yeah,
after that, I don't get on the ice.
Well, you won't have to worry about a flat tire. You ride your bicycle.
Not happening, ma'am.
So we gonna go ahead and start with hey, but what's your zone?
Yeah, Daniel's supposed to start with Alex. I don't know where it is.
EDRC and Columbia.
Anybody got any? I don't. I'm not. I don't
really don't
have
have
a.
anybody, but they didn't really.
Okay, I don't have a hot burn on it.
Clint. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
You don't pay attention.
Is this moved out a little bit or not? Is it always been that way? I don't think you can move it, can you?
Not yet. I like the suit. It's sharp.
Well, it just seems a little tighter on that corner.
Old is old.
Those are usually the best ones. I broke one out
Quality.
last week. I had one in about 10 years.
It's about.
It's older than my youngest daughter.
This is about 8, 9 years.
That's fine.
Get a good suit to do that. Yeah, I can find a fit back in it too.
I was telling Andrina last night.
Well, it's a very necessary call.
Well, I could take some of the ones I got.
To be honest with you, I didn't know what
Double
to
suit.
do.
Yeah, you can.
The problem I got is it was
The new system is going on. Nothing
You do the same size. That's no problem.
Well, you know, craftsmen make them cut the lapel.
No problem. My opportunities, I just go to the back. As soon as I lose weight, I go to the back of the closet stuff I couldn't put on. It fits now.
Well, but you have to, and you
I
have
got him looking at
to probably pick up one when you're on the road.
Yeah. Try to stay up. Are we Teresa? I'm sorry, Mo. So he's in the building.
Ed is not here.
Not here yet.
I haven't talked to him now.
Daniel's in the building.
Daniel's in the building, but he said go ahead without him. He's a Thomas call it 2.
2?
Yeah. So he said just go without him. He'll come in when he finishes.
Clint.
I know, right? You will. I don't know it.
How are you?
Yeah, how you, bro?
Day in paradise.
Thank you, Clint.
Living the
Rock
dream,
Royale.
dream to live.
City Manager, Madam Clerk.
Good afternoon.
I am present and highly caffeinated, so y'all get ready for a ride. No.
I just want to.
I know.
I want to.
Present.
Well, let's talk about it. Yeah.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. Here and prayerful.
Mr. Mary.
Yes, ma'am.
Invocation.
Please. Father God, please watch over us as we work to conduct the business of the people of the city of Columbia. Give us a spirit of togetherness, of working in the interest of all of our citizens, those in the majority and in the minority, allow us to go into this season with the proper spirit and enjoy this wonderful time with our families, and never to forget about those who are the least among us. In His name we come. Amen.
Amen. Mayor Benjamin and Council, she was just in here. Where did Nikki go? Because I'm not, was she here tonight? Okay, well, I'll wait till she's in the room.
Short timer.
Yeah, she's a short timer. Okay, we will start our city council discussion with the first item, waste to energy. Mr. Dean Alford is here, President and CEO of Allied Energy.
How are you?
I believe this item was in your committee, Ms. Devine, a while back. Environment and infrastructure, and it's made its way out of committee, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Okay. Super.
I got it right. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. I'm the son of a preacher, so I learned a lesson a long time ago. You tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, then you tell them what you told them. So allow me to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'd like to share with you today. Amen.
Say that one more time.
I'm a preacher. So.
You like to hear that?
Another preacher's kid over here. It sounds just like him. So
we're one preacher short.
Well, now, the only difference, I'm not taking up an offering. That's the difference. Okay? That's the only difference.
Definitely different from Ed. Okay.
It's great to be with you this afternoon, and I appreciate the time. I want to share with you a project we're doing in Augusta, Georgia today to introduce some new technology to the United States that's been going on in Europe for the past 6 years. My firm is fortunate to have the development and marketing rights for this technology, and we're looking for public-private partnerships to engage in this technology to take municipal solid waste and to turn it either into liquid fuel or wood products. So let me walk you through that very quickly, assuming this thing works pretty well. I'm the President and CEO of Allied Energy Services. We're an energy development company located in Conyers, Georgia. We do about $5.5 billion worth of energy projects in North, Central, and South America. We do everything but nuclear.
That's not a very good word around here, so that's
I understand. The company, our technology, is Sucos. They have an operation here in the United States called Sucos Environmental USA, but Sucos Robots out of Larissa, Greece is the technology firm, and we have very significant engineering support for our project and what we're working on. So here's a real summary of what we're going to be doing in Augusta and what we would like to talk to you about. Today, we're going to take municipal solid waste. When I say municipal solid waste, I'm talking about your hefty bag in your house. I'm not talking about construction demolition, I'm talking about household municipal waste. One of the things that happens is EPA has a rule that says if you apply any heat to municipal solid waste, that's considered incineration. And so when we were looking to try to solve that problem, EPA also has a rule relative to what you can do to turn municipal waste into non-waste. So we were able to find technology in Greece that takes municipal solid waste and turns it into a non-waste pellet. I'll pass these around so you're welcome to touch them. They're free of pathogens, they're free of bacteria. In order to meet that standard of EPA, they don't have to be free of pathogens and bacteria, but they also have to meet certain criteria as it relates to BTU value, and I'll talk about that. So what we're going to do in Augusta is, and what's been going on in Bulgaria for the past 6 years, is taking that pellet through some additional technology to make diesel fuel. I'm talking about transportation-grade ASTM D975 diesel fuel, and that's been going on the past 6 years. For the past 2 years, the middle one, and I'll talk more about that in a second, taking that technology into making medium density to high density fiber boards. So let me get into a little bit more. Yes, ma'am, I did. The pellets have about 10,000 BTUs per pound. Now, that's a little bit better than coal. Wood is about 8,500, to put it in perspective. The reason it meets the EPA standard has to burn cleaner than coal. So the VOCs coming off that, if you were to burn it like as a fuel, it burns cleaner than coal. So we can use it for that purpose. But because it has a high BTU value, we're able to make other products with it. This is the technology that turns it into pellets. And the reason I want to show you this technology is that As you can see, it's kind of in trains, and it literally shows up in containers, and it takes about 30 days to install it once it's on site. It's a self-enclosed. What we'll be doing in Augusta, and what we're proposing to do, is there'll be a 45,000 square foot tipping barn before it gets to the conveyor. The garbage comes there, and we tip it, and the reason why we'll need to store garbage over the weekends and at night so we can run basically a 24-hour operation. So we'll be storing about 1,100 tons over the weekend to make this project work. I just want to real quick run you through how this works to get a little feel for what it does. This equipment here in this picture is actually the equipment for Augusta. We assembled it, put it together so that our engineering firm could make sure it operates and run the way it does before we ship it across the Atlantic.
And that, you're inside the gate, right?
Yes. Yeah, in Augusta, we'll be inside the landfill relative to that. This garbage are those pellets that you have in front of you. And so it goes into the machine just like this.
What happens to the organics?
The organics, we'll pull them out. I'll show you the first step right here. It tumbles. And the organics and the inert material comes out at that. And as far as that goes, the next slide, we gather those. So some of the inert materials like small rocks, small glasses, and things of that nature, we actually make pavers out of those with cement. So we don't lose that.
So are you able to separate out the organics?
Yes.
Because for us, that could be a feedstock for our wastewater plant anaerobic digestion, which would improve our gas production out there.
That's correct. So sorry. Yes, sir.
What about plastics?
Well, I'm about to get into that. If you'll just bear with me 1 second.
Baby, burn.
Let me back up for just 1 second.
Sure.
Those little green beans over there.
Pellets.
Pellets.
I know what they are. They look like green beans.
I never thought about being green beans. Other than
Well, they're burnt green beans. These must come from Florence.
These little pellets, I heard you say a ton of that or a pound of that equals how much?
No. It's 10,500 BTUs per pound.
Per pound.
That's correct. Okay.
They're not breakable.
Oh yeah, they'll break. And that means
I tried to do that.
well, they're pretty
I broke
strong.
one right here.
They're pretty strong.
Chewing one over here.
Hey.
We thought they were green beans.
You need some cornbread with them green beans.
So let me go ahead.
The interesting thing, and of course, my interest, of course, as we talk about this, is the whole element of plastics and being bombarded with
He wants plastics.
organic stuff.
I want plastic.
Well, you want plastic.
Yes,
He
sir.
wants
This
it
is
dirty,
this is-
clean, however
This
you
is
can bring it.
20% plastic, 80% cellulose fiber.
Why it's combustible.
And it's able to generate that much.
Well, that's if you think about plastic, it's oil. Plastic
So
comes
it's
from
gonna-
oil.
It's gonna burn.
Petroleum products.
That's right. It's an oil product. Now, I'll show you in a second. By the way, the reason I know these are pretty safe, my 4-year-old grandson thought this was a crayon, and he ate it, and he survived. So,
It's setting on fire. That's the thing.
but it was too late after I caught him in the bag. But anyhow, so let me get to that point in a second. But those are 20% plastic, 80% cellulose fiber. They're clean of everything else. We then take it through a series of electromagnetic fields looking for the ferrous and non-ferrous materials. In other words, we take the metal out, we sell the metal as a recyclable product out of that process. By the way, this gentleman in the picture is Kostas Soukos. He is the inventor of this technology. If you really want a fun web page to go look at, go look up soukosrobots.gr. The United States State Department and the Department of Defense has a thing called a Genius Visa. I do not have one of those, just for the record, but he does. He has
I heard
made
him
his-
speak in Georgia
Yeah,
at the development authority. He's very, very smart.
he's made his fortune destroying unused ammunition around the world, and so he's a very significant inventor. He invented this technology for the Bulgarian government to make liquid fuels, and we were able to find the technology and get the rights to it for the United States. Once it goes through, then there's a fan. And the reason why is plastic and paper flies, and that's the way you continue to do that separation. It then goes to this table. There'll be 8 employees who will go through every bit of it. Again, I'm looking for paper and plastics. Now, here's the beauty of this plastics. The plastic bags that you get at the grocery store that have never been able to be recycled, we'll take those. We'll take styrofoam. We'll take now the terrible, nasty straws that now have become the greatest disaster for the environment in the world. So we'll take the plastic straws as a part of our technology.
Wax boxes, all of that.
Exactly. And so once it goes through that process, then it is we're separating. If you really think about it, I'm creating a stack of plastics and a stack of cellulose fiber. When I say cellulose fiber, I mean paper, cardboard, wood, things of that nature. We then blend it at an 80-20 blend, and then we pelletize it, as you've just seen. This is a picture, again, of that technology, and you can see the size of the equipment relative to the person standing there. They will go into those white bins, and the reason why is we have to do 3 tests on each of those white bins to ensure those pellets meet EPA standards. Once it does that, then one of the technologies we have is a technology called Archimedes, and about 60% of what goes into the system becomes pellets. The rest of it's, again, metals and water and things of that nature. And out of that, we can make diesel, and what doesn't become diesel is biochar. And biochar, you can Google it and buy it on Amazon for $1,000 a ton, is a soil additive. So
What's better than that? It's plastic additive.
that's correct.
So
Okay?
all the plastic around your phone,
It's all got biochar.
it's all got biochar in it.
Exactly. So we can make that product. And so that's what we'll be making in Augusta. We'll have a 20-year contract to take the diesel off our hands. The other thing that's now happening in Greece is they're now taking these. And so I'll pass this to you. If you look through this flooring, that medium density fiberboard are those green beans. That's a flooring. This is a countertop that's being made in Greece as we speak today. The latest version of that is they've learned to diet, and so this is a high-density fiberboard. It can take shellac, it can take paint. Now the beauty of this board, because of the plastic content, it won't burn. It will melt, but it won't burn, and it won't rot because of the plastic. The plastic conceals it. It has less than a 1% absorption rate. But these are products that are being made today in Greece as we speak. So I give you, let me finish these slides real quick so I can then make my picture up. This is some of the material being made, like I said, these are countertops. This restaurant in Greece, those tables, tops, and those countertops are all made out of recycled material out of this process. This is the process in Bulgaria, and the reason I wanted to show you this process, one of the things they're doing in Bulgaria is actually mining a landfill, going to an old landfill, mining it, and using that material. So we're very excited about that progress. So here's how I would like for you to really think about what we're talking to you about. Forget about municipal waste for a second. We're talking about bringing a manufacturing process to your community where we take recycled material and either make liquid fuels or wood products. We'll create somewhere between 65 to 100 jobs, depending on whether or not it's wood product or it's diesel. These are jobs from engineers to common labor. We would run shifts of local people. We would use your local technical colleges to assist us in our training. Obviously, it has great environmental benefits. But this is really a piece of technology that allows us to take waste and make a manufacturing process that we'd like to. And I always said there's many other benefits. So here's what we're looking for. We're looking for 10 acres as a site. In Augusta, we're leasing 10 acres inside the landfill. The city keeps the tipping fee. We do not touch the tipping fee. And for that, we take somewhere in the neighborhood of 130 to 175 wet tons per year of their annual waste. We're making 9.9 million gallons of diesel, 16,000 tons of biochar in that product.
So what's the estimate on how much we'd save in tipping fees?
Pardon?
How much would we save in tipping fees on our?
We wouldn't mess with the tipping fee, one way or the other.
We don't have a landfill. We don't have the landfill. So
Yeah.
I'm curious.
You were saying
we should save.
We don't save on the landfill
Property.
because we don't pay tipping fee. Where we save is driving our trucks 18 miles out and 18 miles back.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the only way this makes a lot of sense is to be connected in the crosshairs of one of the major highways. And obviously, I don't know how much we have at the old C&D landfill.
Going back.
Yes, sir.
Finish your last slide. I apologize.
That's okay. No.
There
So,
was a land lease element.
right. So we'll be looking for a land lease, very similar situation. We put up all the capital. We own and operate it. It's nothing to do. We pay taxes. If you really do think of us as a manufacturing facility, that's the way to look at the project. But what we need is municipal waste and a site for that. The reason we've traditionally looked at being inside of a landfill or a transfer station is because you have permits there already. You also have scales and other
Can that
kinds of-
operate inside a building?
Can it operate inside of a building?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's big enough.
How big a building do you need?
We would probably need a footprint. It really is a function of the size around it. I would say we need at least, well, we would need at least 45,000 square feet for the tipping barn, and it needs to be about 45 feet tall. Okay, because the trucks nowadays.
28 feet.
Yeah.
They jump on the inside.
Yeah, we would dump inside the barn, and the reason why is the new long-term trailers that are coming, they tilt them up, and it gets up to about 40-something feet, clearing that, so.
How many tons does the city generate? You need 175?
Yes, sir.
23,000. So where you gonna make up the difference between the 23,000 and the 175?
23,000 a year? Okay. That would be something that we would work in cooperation with, or trying to collaborate with other local governments to figure out a way to do this. We're looking for.
What's the county? Does anybody, your staff, see who they are? What's the county, what's the whole county's worth? Do you know? I'm just curious what.
I would think it'd be over 100, probably 55 or 60.
And then Lexington. No clue of Lexington.
You would,
So
you
what, this would have to be a regional approach.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask that. You would be looking, if there was the arrangement you're talking about could serve adjacent areas.
That's correct. That's correct.
That becomes reasonable.
So I think the part we're looking for, again, is we're trying to locate a manufacturing facility. We'll look for feedstock, but obviously we'd look for a cooperative effort between local governments to pull a project like this off. Because right now, this is going in landfills, long-term liability, cost. Here's one last thing I'd share with you. The idea of recycling as we know it today would go away with this technology. There's no reason to separate stuff in the homes. We're 100% recycling what goes to the system. So you'll be able to offer 100% recycling to all of your citizens without any cost to you with a program like this.
The thought in my mind, so you're really creating a dump site or garbage dump site. Any idea what the,
No, sir.
will you bring in garbage to
But we're
a
bringing it. We're
location?
gonna lay it on a concrete pad, and we'll process it. About 1% of what we don't use, only 1% of what we use, everything we'll take to a landfill.
So is there any DHEC regulations, any state regulation that helps you or hurts you or anything like that?
We will be required to get a solid waste handling permit, just like we do in Georgia.
Solid waste, what?
Solid waste handling permit.
Now, is that for the 1%?
No, that's for the whole thing.
For the whole thing?
Yes, sir.
Could we charge a tipping fee if you put it on our site? If we had 10 acres to spare and we put it on our site, could we charge the regional tipping fee?
I don't know what regulations may or may not require, but I would say to you, there are communities who are looking at that as a strategy. I've got a community I can't disclose because I know some folks are sitting here to put it on the paper, but that they're now going to collect from 7 communities, and they have a landfill big enough to handle that 1%. It'll probably generate several millions of dollars a year for them now.
The only thing you're looking for the city to do is provide you with the place. You're going to provide the capital bring in that.
Well, I think
That and the waste.
I think part of what the only thing that because if we quit going to the landfill, and a part of this, which makes sense for a whole lot of reasons, you know, and the approach, then we would have to have some assurance, and maybe it's, well, two things we would need as a city is a cleanup bond if something happened down the road. Number two, which is what's required in Georgia as part of the permitting
That's correct.
process. And then here, we would have to have something as, let's say if they had a breakdown and have to wait for a period of time and it exceeds the 3-day storage, it's gonna have to go to landfill, making sure that we have some type of funding mechanism that they pay for that. So we shouldn't incur that cost, but we have that waste. So I think, you know, those are the type of things we ought to think through, but to your point, you could create a gate fee for other entities and still make it economical. Right. But it would create some revenue for us.
What?
How big of a site is our composting site on Shop Road?
12 acres?
No, altogether it's about 34, but it's usable, maybe,
Where they gonna put
You
that?
say it is or not, Dave?
it is.
Robert, I'm sorry. I'm
Put it
sorry.
out.
It's
You got
an
the
old
R
MSW.
right, so
Yeah, it's an old MSW landfill, so I don't exactly know what's usable. I don't know how far underground you need to be for your system. I don't know if you need to be, if it's got a 2-foot cap on it. If you've got to be any lower than 2 foot, then we've got an issue.
No, we don't have to do that.
you could handle all that wood too. You'd like to have that. That's
Oh, yeah.
15,000 tons a year, right? Or
Yeah,
wood.
you don't want yard waste though, correct?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
take it.
he'll
We'll take
it.
biomass. We'll take biomass. Yes, sir.
This byproduct,
Yes, sir.
that is the finished product. You don't do that. What do? You
What we
sell
would make-
the materials to.
Very good question. What we would make on that site if we do this is that board. It'd be an 4x8 sheets, 3/4 inch. It wouldn't have the varnish on it,
Right.
but that's what we would sell. Or
gotta be
You
we
sell
would
it
say-
to the industry.
I'm sorry, or we
Same
would
as-
sell this medium density fiber board here, which is roughly 1/4 inch, again, on 4x8 sheets.
And not the finished area.
See, that first piece of wood, think about the insulation value of that. If you had that in your home versus what we have.
So the reason,
Is that
we're-
being, is it being also marketed and used in construction in Greece now, or?
yeah, this material is being used in Greece, and we've taken all the tests in Greece relative to materials. We're now testing all this in the U.S. so that the U.S. markets want to make sure it's tested in the U.S. for those things such as burn rates, absorption rates, strength test, and things of that nature.
You mentioned that
Yes,
if we went with a product like this, we would not have to have a separate recycling component because you can take it all.
we take it all, because think about what we're doing. We're recycling by separating it ourselves. What you do in most recycling programs is, you know, you ask the consumer to do the separation, right? We do. We're gonna do all the separation and then recycle it. And if you really think about what this material is, it's recycled material.
I don't think we can, I don't think you would want to change our recycling because of so much glass and stuff, which he's not going to want that, which is creating more. I think what you're talking about from recycling is what's in the bag, because a lot of people do throw the extra cartons and all that stuff.
Well, except in the case
You
of
want all
City,
the plastic
I
out of
mean,
it.
but in some of the communities we're talking to, we will end up taking the glass because they're gonna
Really?
drop it to save money. Because in some communities, it's costing them a substantial amount of money for recycling, and we'll take that and handle it for them. It's part of the project.
So what do you do with the glass?
Same thing we do, you know,
Just push it on?
push it on.
Let me ask about the temperature, hotter than cold. Now, is that material recyclable?
Say again?
The, if you get a product that's hotter than cold in terms of BTUs, what do you don't, it's good for the atmosphere, but.
Well, we
that's-
don't, there's not probably much out there that would be coming into a municipal landfill that would have a greater BTU value than plastic.
Okay.
If you think about plastic, it's basically just oil, okay? Again, the only other thing you cellulose fiber, which is lower in BTU. Just, you know, if you take a pine tree and pine trees are about 50% moisture, you dry it out, you get about 10% moisture. That's about 8,500 BTUs compared to 10,500. So the real interesting thing.
That's all you can have.
So this plastic is a really good example. This cap has about 3 or 4 times the plastic of this entire bottle. The way you know that is versus that. So the point is the concentration of this really matters relative to the plastic BTU. But it will. So that coats around the cellulose fiber. If you think about it, that's what protects it from absorbing water, but also it keeps it from burning. But it will melt. It does have a melting.
Thank you.
What site are you looking at?
All right, Mr. Badura, Ms. McDowell, Mr. Rickman. Then I'm gonna put a bow in it because Ms. Devine's already given us a hard stop.
Yeah, 4 o'clock, right?
So go ahead. What was that, Mo?
I'm just curious, do you have a site in mind or anywhere?
No, sir. I think what we would ask of you all, if this is something of interest, the ask is to work with your appropriate departments to either identify a site, look at our lease, look at the situation, and see if we possibly can put a project together.
He said community character was important. He wanted to be in a historic district in District 3.
Yeah. So the rumor is, it's either in North Main or District 3. I don't know which one.
Well, I think we could be realistic about
If I
an
said that, I
appropriate
said it in Greek.
location.
All I'm gonna say. I wasn't real sure about that.
Put it up there where the tennis center is on Catawba.
So what we're here today, if this is something
Negative. Let's start that way.
look at that public-private partnership, how it might could work and how it could happen.
I think, I'm okay to continue that discussion. I really want to actually visit the site that you have in Augusta.
Oh, sure.
See how the whole operation works.
Well, it's not operating today.
Oh.
So let me just, we're under construction as we speak. We're having to move 700,000 yards of dirt to fill in the hole to make our site. So, but we have our state permit. We're right in the middle of the city issuing the building permit for the big tipping barn. So
When do you expect completion date?
late this summer.
Oh, wow.
You gotta remember, the biggest thing that's gonna take the build is this 54,000 or 45,000 square foot barn. Because these things will have concrete pads and it's gonna show up. Two of the containers are heading this way.
You construct that on site? Is that what you?
Those containers actually show up like they are. We lay a concrete pad. And we literally take it off the back off the ship onto a tractor trailer. Then when it gets here, we take a crane, we lift it, we drop it, and bolt it down, plug it in, ready to go.
Cheaper to build.
Well, I think and it's interesting we're having this conversation today. This past Sunday, 60 Minutes did a thing on the whole notion of plastics and the abundance of plastics within the water. There's an inventor, a young guy out of I think Sweden, and developing that technology to remove most of or some of the plastics out of water into these containers. It's exciting. It's exciting for me, but it's also it also gives me a point of concern because of the amount of plastics and what you're planning to do with plastics. There's not a time or an instance where folk aren't loading their Herbie Kirby's with recyclables, and most of it is plastic. It would certainly be encouraging that this kind of technology introduces itself on this side of the world, has introduced itself on this side of the world, and that the little green beans turn into heat and viable things that are necessary. So I'm intrigued about that. I'm like Mo, I think it would certainly be good if we could. I'd like to see that kind of technology in motion to kind of see what it does, how it does that, and the benefits. So I think the land is critically important, but I think it would be certainly good for us to see what it is we want to do, as opposed to saying, let's get this piece of property and let's think about what.
Where that piece of property is.
Yeah, or where it's at.
We'll send you and Mo to Bulgaria to see it.
We're good with that?
Well, yeah, we can use some of your.
Let's start with Augusta. Okay, let's start with Augusta.
Let's start with Augusta, and if we need to
Mr.
go to
Rickman and Mr.
Bulgaria,
Davis.
Yeah.
we'll ask Mr. Brother Duvall to
Richard
help
Robert
us.
Smith.
with-
Translate the Bulgarian language.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Daniel, are you done, Sam?
Well, I mean, I would just say that, you know, we're not talking about new technology, we're talking about adaptive technology here. This is proven technology, the byproducts. Biochar is a huge, huge product right now. It makes everything from 3D printer ink to the plastics in chairs, phones. John Deere, Caterpillar are all using that to mix with their plastics to get the black color, so it's a viable. Obviously, the pelletized fuel has been big in a lot of countries. We export a lot of pellets here overseas. I think it makes sense for us to look into this deeper, and you know, I think Ms. Wilson, if you could, you know, put a committee together to kind of explore all the options, you know, run the traps. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion to have, but I think it makes a lot of sense, especially with our commitment to clean cities, to look at these options.
That's fine. I mean, the biggest hurdle is gonna be where. So if there's, I already know kind of the answer to that, but I mean, we can definitely put a committee together, but staff and I know the options and they're limited as far as city.
Well, I think put those up and talk about them. I think that's the.
We need to look at the 34 acres we got.
Well, it doesn't need to be city property, does it?
Well, ideally, that's.
If we were gonna do the land lease arrangement, I think is what.
If it's not city, then we're
Sorry,
not involved.
Doesn't necessarily need to be within the boundaries of the municipal corporation. Probably not. I mean, so even if we thought it prudent to purchase land to do something, I mean, I don't think we should restrict ourselves to land that we currently own. If we
Oh, okay.
I'm open to
That
options.
changes things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to be as restricted.
Well, I hope we could recycle what we have first.
Yeah. Mr. Davis?
Now, I think, I saw the program on Sunday, and the main thing, the scary thing about that is China and places like that, they're not taking anymore. They're shipping it back to other countries. But a lot of this stuff right now is closer to shore than out in the ocean.
We get 250,000 tons a year in
Right.
South Carolina from New
But,
York and everywhere else.
I think if
Waste is not a problem.
in terms of next steps to see if this is possible, my thinking is, what we get out of it, and also I'm impressed with the fact that there's some byproducts that are closer to home when it comes to materials for housing and things like that. I would assume that those products are economical.
I wouldn't be investing $75 million if it wasn't.
Well, I'm thinking about the pass on to a home buyer, home builder.
Yes.
That sort of
I
thing.
don't mean to be catty with you, but the point is that those products, to your point, those products will be beneficial to the marketplace. And here's a couple reasons why. For instance, the issue of mold. You wouldn't have mold if you had these kind of products being homemade out of it, because you wouldn't have the moisture. Same with fire. So it has benefit, but this makes good business sense for everybody. Again, I think what I would encourage you all to do is to think about us wanting to invest about $75 million in your community and create between 65 and 100 jobs. That is our proposal to you. And we'd like to locate someplace at the same time. We'd like to partner with you to use your waste to make that manufacturing process successful.
Mr. Alford, so the request is land and waste. Is that the
Yes, sir.
request?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
Land and waste. Hadn't had a chance to dig deeper. Are you guys privately owned concern, domestic concern, sources of capital, domestic sources of capital?
Yes.
Is it in the industry? I don't know if this came up in committee. Is anyone else doing this?
Not with this technology. This is the first, the one in Augusta will be the first in the United States of this existing technology.
And to be fair, they put a entrepreneurial twist on the technology. The technology itself is not something new. They have done like any smart person. They figured a better mousetrap out using a basis. So it's proven technology.
But they have the exclusive right to do the technology in the U.S.
Are you finished with your next steps for us?
Yes.
In terms of
Finished with my
suggestions?
presentation, and thank you for your.
No, that's what I mean, that's it, in terms of how do we, everything we need to do to consider whether or not we have to work with you.
It was in direct order.
Thank you,
Ms. Alford. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
This,
Hearing back from you and working with you on this.
City manager,
Happy holidays to you.
if we honestly come up with a subcommittee, I'll be on it.
Okay. I think you were directing us as staff to.
Yeah,
right,
let's
not
continue to do some
committee.
real due diligence and
Okay.
seeing if
It makes sense.
Kick the tires, yeah.
Okay, moving along, the second item for presentation is by Mr. John Ando, the Executive Director and CEO for the Central Midlands Regional Transit Authority, the COMET, and he will be presenting on the Intermodal Transportation Center Feasibility Study. Hey, John.
Hi. Well, good afternoon, Council, Mayor, and staff members of the city. John Ando, Executive Director of the COMET. I'm here today to talk to you about the Midlands Regional Intermodal Transportation Center study that was prepared back in 2016. The intent of the study, which was led by the Central Midland Council of Governments, was to examine opportunities on where a regional intermodal transportation center could be placed in or around downtown Columbia so that we can have, in essence, a transportation central facility where everybody can go and get buses, bicycles, trains, anything that basically can provide mobility for the community. This study is the first step towards pursuing Federal Transit Administration funding to fund these type of projects of magnitude. And facilities such as this can enhance the traveler's experience for those that want to come into Columbia or out of Columbia. An intermodal transit center is basically a facility that generally brings multiple modes of transportation together. So where you have basically a centralized hub. Several areas in the state actually have these intermodal transportation facilities. And you can also add additional amenities such as retail, parking, housing, governmental offices, and transit center and transit offices as amenities to the facility. And if we were to build a facility of this magnitude, it'll take about 3 to 10 years to do, and about $14.7 million on average to build. The study looked at 22 sites throughout the city of Columbia downtown area. The study did recommend site number 4, which is the location of the present transit facility that the city constructed back in 1996. That is the Sumter Street Transit Center at the corner of Laurel and Sumter. In addition, there were 3 additional sites that were further analyzed. That includes a location at the corner of Main and Anthony, a location at the corner of Main and Scott, and a location at the corner of Taylor and Hardin. Based on the current needs of the transit system, this is why the study recommended keeping the facility where it is at today. However, one thing that I would like the council to be mindful of is that our board of directors recently adopted a transit center roadmap that discusses the short-term and long-term vision of the current use of the Sumter Street location. And as a result, we're going to be doing a short-range transit plan and comprehensive operational analysis in conjunction with the Council of Governments to determine does the current Comet transit system make sense for our community, or should we be looking at a different way of delivering the services that we're providing, or should we have some type of a hybrid approach? We presently operate a hub and spoke type of system. Should we be looking at more of a radial crosstown type system where people don't necessarily have to come to downtown Columbia to get to destinations? They can actually bypass downtown Columbia to access destinations in a much quicker manner. As our metropolitan area continues to grow, we're starting to see people are actually doing trips from northeast to northwest, from southeast to northwest, and vice versa.
How does that play into at the end of the day, all of that sounds great, except the one thing that I don't see addressed in there and how that plays into is ridership, because ridership is limited.
And you're correct. And
I don't know if that's because there's so many stops and people have to change. Is that because of the other modes of transportation, or people are working closer to where they live? I think understanding all of that is a key.
Sure, and John, as you go through, obviously, be time sensitive, but I think do a deeper dive into the rationale behind your decision, your board's policy making. I mean, I think the studies have shown obviously, and he can talk a little bit more about some of the creative partnerships they're doing with Uber and Lyft and watching the way people are moving around. But data showing that if they modernize their routes to where people actually are going from northeast to work in Lexington County or southeast to downtown, and actually able to shave off some real time. I think a lot of folks might be more inclined to ride.
But what's that number now?
But it's very,
what's
it's very
the
data,
job
it's
that ties
very
with
data
it?
driven.
And you bring up a very good point, and that's the intent of the comprehensive operational analysis. The last time one was done for the system was 2009, actually at the request of the city to understand the present Comet system. The Comet system has basically looked fundamentally the same since going back to the SCENG days. So this effort actually is going to basically...
Except we have prettier buses now.
Except we have prettier, much more bolder buses, yes. But actually this intent is to really just look at where people are boarding our routes, where people are getting off of our routes, and determine, does the system as designed even make sense? Because what I'm starting to...
How do you capture that? Because that was the thing that confused me is talking to people who are riders, is how do you capture that when they're getting off one bus to transfer onto another? How do you actually capture the end game on that, or the destination? Probably a better.
So the ultimate survey that the consultants would do would actually do basically what is called an origin and destination study. So they'll actually individually survey riders and ask them where they're boarding and where they're going. They'll plot all the dots on a map. They'll overlay with the Comet system, and then they'll determine, does our route network make sense for those riders? One of the common complaints I get from a lot of our riders, and even my experience from riding the system often, is that our system is too slow. For me, I live off the corner of Beltline and Covenant. It takes me, if I take the crosstown route, it'll take me 38 minutes to get to my office.
You leave Trenton Plaza, which I've done, it takes you close to 40 minutes to get downtown.
But if I miss that bus, which runs every 2 hours, I'm now at 65 minutes because I have to take 2 Notch to downtown, and then I have to take the bus that goes into the Monticello area. And one route runs half hourly, one route runs hourly. So if I miss that connection, that's where that long wait time comes into play. And then that's where we have all the folks at Laurel and Sumter. So if we can keep people moving, then it really defeats the need for having a large centralized hub. And that's kind of where that study will go into play. And then also that study will look at those 22 other sites that were considered to see if maybe instead of having a big centralized facility, maybe we have satellite facilities throughout the service area.
So in that, which would be interesting, so what, for the average destination, will it be able to tell you how far that is? Are they within 3 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles of their end destination?
That's what the survey will be able to do for us, yes. One thing to know, if you're not aware, this is the current Comet system as it stands today. You'll notice that if you can see the little square boxes that are scattered throughout the service area, those are called super stops. And what we've been trying to do, especially with our service change that we just did back in October, and what we're getting ready to do in January, is try and connect as many routes as possible to these super stops so that we can start training people that there's other locations in our service area where you can transfer and make connections to other routes, so we can find faster ways to get people throughout our system within our current resources until we're able to complete that study. These are some sample transit centers that are across the country. The first one is the Orlando Lynx Transit Center. The one on the right is the Phoenix Central Station. The one below that is the transit center in Greenville. And then below that is the North Charleston Intermodal Station that was just recently constructed. And then the one on the far left is the Fort Worth Intermodal Transportation Center.
Did you look at the Spartanburg Transit Center?
I did not know they had one. They do have,
they have one downtown, and the way it's constructed is very interesting.
Is that at their Amtrak station?
It's on Main Street. I mean, it's literally in the heart of downtown.
So again, John, which cities? North Charleston, Fort Worth?
So Orlando, Phoenix, Fort Worth, Greenville, and then North Charleston. And the North Charleston just opened about 4 months ago.
Where is it in North Charleston?
That's at the Amtrak station. Yeah.
All those include rail?
Pardon me?
All those include rail?
Orlando and Phoenix do not include rail, and Greenville do not include rail. Fort Worth and North Charleston does include rail.
Thank you.
So that's my contact information. I'll be happy to answer any questions about or any further thoughts on an intermodal facility. One comment that I just recently learned, just for information, is that I understand the city owns the Amtrak station. So there's even a potential that we could pursue FTA grants if we wanted to redevelop the Amtrak station into like a smaller intermodal type facility. We could work with the Vista and the neighbors in that area to see, is there an interest to have like some type of a small facility? Not necessarily having all of our routes go there, but perhaps you have student shuttles, some mainline Comet routes, the Amtrak, and intercity bus. And the bus to the airport.
I always thought that was a very small piece of property. I think the Development Foundation owned the rest. Look at Derek. Don't put your head down now. You can see Development Foundation on the chunk of land right next to it. But we think that's a sound idea. We ran those traps at the Vista some years ago. I think they were kind of.
John and I had a recent conversation about
I
it.
think it's also the sound idea. I think years and years ago, the optimal location would have been Whaley Assembly, if we were going to try to do some things kind of really forward looking there. But that ship has sailed. Yeah.
Why not Bay Street?
SCANG property right next to it.
You said Gervais where?
Gervais?
You talking about UG?
UG. I'm sorry, UG.
But I know John said he was gonna have some conversations with the Vista Guild to begin to explore the idea.
If we can keep it by rail, we can pursue different type of funding sources that would make a grant application attractive towards funding such a facility.
John,
and then,
please.
Oh, I was just going to add too, if we end up looking at decentralizing the Comet system, there's still going to be a need for some type of level of service to the downtown Columbia area.
Absolutely.
Perhaps we can do some type of streetscape or an in-house super stop at the corner of Hardin and Taylor, where we have a large cluster of our Comet ridership at that intersection due to the low-income housing, some of the colleges and universities that are there, and provide some enhancement opportunities for that neighborhood, and which could be federally funded.
John, remind me how many riders you have.
We carry
daily?
about 2.4 million passenger trips a year. That translates to about 9,500 passenger trips a day.
And so, but that's multiple trips. So what's really the single rider?
That's information I don't actually have. And our survey that we're going to do would actually give us that information, since we'll be individualizing trips.
John, I'm sorry.
Please.
No, I just was trying to make sure I had the
Please,
updated
absolutely.
data.
How has the ridership been for the new route, Route 21?
22.
22.
It's still growing. It's one of our lower performing routes, but we have done some targeted marketing towards that neighborhood. So hopefully in the next 6 months it will mature and gain more additional ridership.
Where's 22?
22 is the route that goes between Colony Apartments via Harding Street through the Bull Street development to Five Points and Rosewood Hills Drive.
That also takes up Richland Memorial too.
John, I'd love to hear any feedback you get from the Vista Guild. I mean, I think the reality is that the Comet now is a completely different organization than it was 7, 8 years ago when we had these discussions. It's being a good steward of public resources, and especially with the changing nature of mobility. I mean, there's so much going on. I really enjoyed the time we spent together. The most recent meeting we had, I just think the number of things you guys are working on is amazing. Pushing back against obviously a lot of long-held opinions and ideas as we're all transit experts and none of us are. A few of the people in this room actually are. So keep pushing. Let's keep working together in the spirit of cooperation. Recognizing we're all a team. And just as your final word, would you tell council about the partnership with Uber and Lyft?
Yes.
Just lay out.
So starting this week, actually, and our goal at the Common is to be more of a mobility agency, and that's not just a typical transit agency. But what we've implemented, it's right now we're doing a soft launch. We're going to do a bigger launch come January. But we have a program called Comet on the Go. And if you have an Uber or Lyft app, the first program is our nighttime program, Comet at Night, where we'll pay for the first $5 if you board within anywhere we have a Comet fixed route bus stop to anywhere within the Comet fixed route service area. That service is from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., 7 days a week. So it's geared towards those that work in the service industry, that need public transportation in the early morning hours when presently we're not running bus service. And a lot of the Uber and Lyft trips average around the $5 to $8 range. So there might be a few people that would end up with free trips subsidized by the Comet. There might be a few people that may end up paying $3 to $4 on top of the subsidy that we would provide. The next part, which is an innovative concept that hasn't been done elsewhere in the nation yet, is called Comet to the Market. And the goal with Comet to the Market is from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., we'll pay the first $5 on Uber and Lyft to connect people anywhere within the Comet fixed route service area to fresh food markets. So as long as you put wherever you live in the Comet service area and you put a BI-LO, a Walmart neighborhood market, Publix, Fresh Market, Whole Foods, anything that has fresh produce or fresh meats, we'll pay that first $5 to the store and from the store back to wherever you want to go.
Which brings up, I'd be curious to see, once you get the actual ridership and where it goes, if it doesn't make sense that you're pushing more people to Uber and Lyft and having less routes because you're getting those people directly. And I'd be willing to bet on simple math that you come out ahead and create a better service in the same amount of dollars that we're spending for a wide system that's not getting people to where they need to be.
And it's funny you bring up that point, and that's kind of the whole intent of why we wanted to try these pilots, because it can give us some test opportunities to determine, like if we have low productivity areas in the system, it doesn't make sense to run a bus at we pay $69.08 an hour. We can just pay that $5 subsidy and would do way more trips for a lesser cost.
Probably get more people using it.
And get more people using it.
Now, do you have any idea how many Uber and Lyft cars are out there at any one time, say in the morning?
So in the early morning hours, it averages about 20 to 25. That's per Uber and Lyft. In the daytime hours, that significantly increases to over 175.
I've
Right.
never, ever, I don't care what time it is, never been able to get a ride on Uber or Lyft.
Never?
Never been
Serious?
turned down.
To get one or not get
Oh,
one?
you not get one, you never not
been
get one.
turned
Yeah.
down.
Right, oh.
Oh, you've
I
not
thought
been
you said
turned down?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Ever.
Yeah, no.
It's
Now, I can tell
amazing.
you in the early morning hours, though, the wait times are not, like right now, if you requested a car, you'll probably get one within 5 to 6 minutes. The early morning hours, we're talking about 15 to 25 minutes.
Well, it depends. It truly depends on the day of the week.
That's true, too. You're right.
Don't worry about what I do and where I go.
Friday and Saturday nights, of course, you get more car availability.
I'm out sure making our community as safe. I'm not at home tucked in bed like you.
You're talking specifically about your contracts you have with Uber and,
That's correct.
okay,
But he
not
used
the
to
market.
give Lou Ribbon.
the ones
That was
you
his Uber.
Right.
contract with. Okay.
But I don't want to. I don't want us to miss how big a deal these two efforts are. I mean, I think they're thoughtful, they're forward thinking when it comes to addressing the issue of growing food deserts and scarcity. I mean, this is cutting edge, and so John and Derek.
If the end user is actually taking advantage of it.
I think we just gotta make sure we spend as much time really promoting this as much as possible. But this partnership as it relates to fresh foods, this is the very first time in the country this is being tried. So it's a big deal, John, and I'm excited about the potential.
I'm more excited about the potential down the road having a Comet Lift thing, because I think at the end of the day, we'll be able to provide a better service for more people at a much more economical way than dragging diesel buses all over town.
And two quick, I know we came with a very specific purpose today. Would you touch on trolleys? Would you touch on electric buses and compressed natural gas?
Yes. So right now, for 1 month, we're demonstrating again a Proterra bus. So this time the bus is actually here in Columbia for 1 month, and every day we're going to put it on a different route. So if you're curious about how electric buses work, I encourage you to take a ride on it.
It's going down Bull Street today.
It's going down Bull Street today. Yes, it was on the 301, the big white bus. Yes,
That-
0 emissions.
I think the CNG is a much more efficient than the electric, both on cost, stop and start, and wear and tear from the studies I've seen.
Yes, you are right on that. The challenge, though, with CNG is now the industry is moving so fast away from CNG that a lot of transit agencies are actually, because of the grants that FTA is putting out, they're starting to procure zero-emission buses, hydrogen buses. And
Well, don't bring up hydrogen. We've been down that route. That was a $250,000 faux pas. I think, from a standpoint on the CNG, industry is not. I would disagree with you because it's a carbon neutral product. The cost per cubic foot, because you're not buying it per gallon. If you're set up the system, MARTA does a great job, and now they're integrating a lot of biogas into that system. But Frito-Lay, you go to downtown Atlanta, Frito-Lay, UPS, AT&T, AGL, you name it, every one of those are all running on CNG for the stop and start because it's a carbon neutral. You still get the power of the industry that you need, and the cost is significantly less than electric.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. One of the transit systems I managed in California was 100% CNG, and I started the catalyst to convert from diesel to the CNG operation. So it's just that we have to just be mindful of just how the technology is moving, because CNG has an upfront significant capital investment, and the grants that previously was able that you could have utilized for CNG buses like I was using in the early 2000s are no longer really
I think
available.
at the end of the day, with moving towards Uber and everything else, we're not have to worry about that.
Well,
And then to answer your questions on some of the mobility items, so the electric bus, our board of directors did also authorize us to go out to bid to purchase 2 trolley vehicles for the Soda Cap connector route in downtown Columbia. We are going to be doing a phase 1 of revamping Soda Cap connectors starting January 28th. We'll still continue to have 3 routes. One route would be basically Main Street District to Vista to West Columbia and Casey. The second route would be Main Street District to 5 Points and the Hardin-Taylor neighborhoods. The third route will be during Fireflies games from the Main Street District to the Spirit Communications Park and the Bull Street Development. We're also going to expand the hours to Soda Cap Connector. We are going to run it Sunday through Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 12 midnight. Buses will come by every 25 to 30 minutes. Instead of having 2 buses per route, 4 buses, we're only going to have 1 bus per route and just do short circuits. So our goal is that with the redesigned route, that'll make it more attractive for downtown residents, downtown employees, and visitors coming into the Columbia market wanting to try the service. And then the trolleys will also help attract more attention to the service. We're also partnering in conjunction with Blue Cross Blue Shield and Bewegan. We're going to be also another sponsor to the Blue Bike system. We're going to be funding 8 expansion stations within the city limits, and we'll also be paying and operating subsidies so that anyone that rides the Comet will also be allowed to use the Blue Bike system for 45 minutes per use. That way, it addresses the first mile, last mile issues for some of our riders and can also help shorten some of the trip times for our transit users, and also help improve the carbon footprint in our city.
You're not busy enough.
Oh, wow.
You're not even get to work, man.
Well, the next one that's coming is our van pool program, and that's in partnership with Enterprise Rideshare, and that'll start in January, and we'll pay the first $500 towards the rent of a van, and commuting groups can start forming commuter groups at, like, let's say Killian Road Walmart. They can drive to the state capitol or even here at City Hall, go to work, and then at the end of the day get back in the van and take the van back to Walmart and get in their cars and go home.
So the community itself would form the commuter group. This is a partnership to lessen the cost of the
That's correct. So the more people you get in the van, the less the cost to the user.
Someone has to organize the community.
Someone has to organize it.
Be very interested in tracking all these programs as Malfunction Junction work starts up over the next.
That's the goal.
It's gonna get real interesting. Yeah. Thank you, John.
Be a lot of people working.
Thank you for having me.
And Derek, thank you and your colleagues too, man.
John, John,
John?
Yes.
do you have a summary that's available on the innovative aspects that you
Yes.
just?
Would you like me to email that to you?
Yeah, especially when you're talking some of the van pooling and things like that. I think the areas that you're looking to serve, those folks tend to contact us more, I think, than they have direct dialogues with you. So we can be able to share some of this.
Yes, I will send that out today. If I just also may add, we do have bus service to the airport now. Bus runs every 2 hours between downtown Columbia and the airport as part of our intermodal connectivity that we're trying to implement.
Where do you get on it downtown?
You get it at Laurel and Sumter or along Assembly Street, and then it cuts over on Blossom and then takes Knott's Abbott to the airport. And then starting come January, it'll run hourly, Monday through Saturday.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the Commercial Retention and Redevelopment Program, formerly the Facade Program, update and proposed 2019 targeted areas. Ms. Jerry Lynn Hall, Program Compliance Specialist, and Mr. Brett Whiting, Loan Officer for the Office of Business Opportunities, and Ms. Melissa Linder, the Director of the Office of Business Opportunities.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
Good afternoon.
We're going to give you a brief update on our Commercial Retention and Redevelopment Program, formerly the Facade Improvement Program. Last year in 2017, we actually changed the name from Facade Improvement to Commercial Retention and Redevelopment. We have expanded our focus not only on the exterior improvements of business properties in our city, but also on working internally to improve the entire projects. Therefore, we called it the Commercial Retention and Redevelopment Program, and it has been very, very successful. We have 5 areas we're going to share with you, 5 businesses that we were able to help this last phase, which focused on the Farrow Road and West Beltline area. What we're going to do is show you those improvements as they occurred, and we're also going to talk to you about some new targeted areas that we're going to look at as we look into our future 2019, 2020, where we need to focus at. This year, we're very intentional and deliberate about where we were going. We looked at not only traditionally what areas in the city are we already working in, what programs do we have with our community development block grant program focus areas, what can we do to layer those efforts and therefore have a bigger impact in the city. This year we also looked at code violations. That was very important to us. And you'll see, as Jerry Lynn will explain, Jerry Lynn's over the facade aspect of CRR, and Brett Whiting, I'm so sorry, Brett Whiting, he actually does our commercial loan aspect of the program. So they work as a team, and they're a great team. They really do tag team these areas. They're out there, they're visible. They're working with our business owners to make sure that they know about the programs and to make sure that they're being fully utilized throughout the city. So I'll leave it to them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jerry Lynn, and I am going to cruise right through our presentation today. We do want to start with the summary of 2017-2018, Farrow Road and West Beltline, and then we'll wrap up with what's going on in 2018-2019. Oh, sweet. Good. I won't go through all the numbers. I'll just hit the big ones. With the facade program, you'll recall that's an 80-20 match. The city will cover 80%. The applicant pays 20%. And the city, in this particular area, the funding limits were a maximum of up to $15,000 for exterior improvements for a single building. The commercial loan had a maximum limit of $10,000. There is no private investment required for the commercial loan. The first column shows you the public investment on the facade project, $61,709. On the commercial loan, which is the interior, $48,854. As a total, I didn't show it here, but I did some quick math. So the total public investment between facade and commercial loan was $110,553.
Y'all missed Tamika Hawkins.
I did.
You got to get her a sign.
How did I do that?
She's had that Braden sign up there for 20 years. And if I had a sign like that in front of my business, I'd be in trouble.
You know, and I'll get to it, but the one unfortunate thing is I can't make people apply for the program, though I try. The private investment, which is the amount that the applicants are putting in to match our investment, was $15,175. So facade total public private investment, we did $125,738 in investing on Farrow Road and West Beltline. We had a combination of funding. We had both CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funds, and we had some general budget funding. Next, I want to quickly hit the projects we had. Everyone can still hear me? Very good. This is KBEL Properties at 3035 Farrow Road. You'll see the total public investment. We went ahead and totaled that up for you between facade and commercial loan, $23,961. The facade covered the roof that was needed. The loan did some landscaping, some medallions. This is mostly indoor flooring, lighting. Address numerals were on the exterior, and a permanently mounted mailbox.
So, Jerry Lynn, it's a $10,000 loan. What's the $59 from the applicant?
Thank you for asking that. The maximum that Brett has is $10,000. Right. The bid came in at $10,059, so the applicant paid that
the difference.
$59 on
So it wasn't an application fee.
Right. And there's no private investment required for the loan, so I wanted to show it at its true value of the city input. We do have some before, during, and after photos. Those are all the latest and greatest. We, had a bad roof. Porch was unfinished. You'll see we did a good bit of work all the way around. During and after, on the interior, they put up some limited carpet that was in the building and put in new flooring. We put in some new doors. There is a permanently mounted mailbox signage on both a projection sign and a sign on the side of the building. And there is your before and after. Yes, very good. Next, we go across the street, still on Faro Road, at 3116 Faro. Total investment, public funds, $21,824. On the facade, the exterior was in tough shape. We did painting on the building, their sign pole, new front door, new side door, roof, fencing. On the inside, well, I'm sorry, one more on the outside. There was some parking lot maintenance. They had stylish chairs, dryer chairs, washing machine and dryer, and painting on the interior. A lot of before, you can see how the deterioration of the crawl space doors, the fence has been some planks, etc. Here they are hard at work. There are some before photos of the seating. You can see the fence in repair and installing the new front door. And then your before and after. The parking lot maintenance was great. It gave a new coat and striping where you could now see the parking spaces that are available for the customers there. Next to Kathy's is a building owned by DST Properties of the Midlands. We repaired, this is one of the smallest projects we did. Total investment, $12,981. Handrail, wall sign, painted the building, some power washing. On the interior of the second suite, it was in bad shape and they were unable to lease it. So we went in, put in some new flooring, molding. They painted on their own. It's a beautiful place and it is now up for lease. I'll have to check. I don't know that it's been leased yet. But you can see some of the action photos where now the railing is complete, better access. Sign Up Quick, our buddies over there got the sign up for Allen's Barbershop. That's in Studio A. It's Studio B that is available for lease now. Mark Ullman Construction came and helped out on a lot of the interior and exterior work. And then we've got some before and after. You can see the flooring going in, coming up, going in. And then a final before and after. Again, one of the smaller projects we did. This is one of the larger projects, Outings Barbershop. This is
Drive by it 100 times. It looks so much better now.
Thank you. And remind me, Brett, he is inputting even more money on his own that we did want to mention. But we did new windows and doors, upper level and lower level, on the sides of the building that faced the street and that were clearly visible. We replaced his lighting. Some fixtures were missing. They were just light bulbs. We added the address numerals, very important for emergency services. You can see I'm sorry, I already mentioned the total investment number. Parking lot repair, again, it was just in bad condition. And the carpentry and cabinets, you'll see the photos in a minute, and paint. But this was one of the most rewarding projects we did. Here's a little bit to demonstrate, especially in the bottom right corner, at the styling stations. There was a laminate over it just over the years. It's fallen off, gotten cracked, etc. And you can see they've come back in. They've peeled all that off. They've painted. We put up these really nice light fixtures. People are coming in, commenting, and the real thing is they're getting new customers.
What's interesting is you see across the street, people are cleaning up their properties and fixing it up. It's created a sense of pride with other people going, you know, I need to clean up my yard now and fix up my space. It really has worked.
George, the owner, owns the lot.
His family owns it.
Across the street, yeah.
Right.
He, on his own dime.
Leading right into the Belfield Center, I might add, too, if we wanted to.
Right, backs up to it. That's correct.
He redid the lot, the parking lot in that area.
Yeah, I mean, it really has had an effect.
Yes, it is great for that purpose, generating the added investment, the added improvement on, you know, the private sector's dime. And here you have, you know, a before and after. He's thinking about the paint scheme. He knows that now the windows are white and so forth. But
So this picture, Jerry Lynn, when you look down, you see that mobile sign. Every one of those places, we got to somehow encourage folks to change because, you know, we used to not be able to have those but for 30 days at a time.
right.
But what I've noticed is it takes away from people's pride and this and that. And somehow I think, you know, maybe, you know, we have a facade grant. Maybe we ought to have a sign grant to help people get nice signage so that it's there, you know, or changes. Well, even if it's done monument where it can share, because I think it just changes the feel of the neighborhood. And there's so many good things going on, you know, when we bought the old dealership and we've invested, I think it's really helped change people's investment, and you got a lot of good businesses that just need that little extra boost. But
George mentioned to me that his dad actually started this business in 1958. And when we did what we did, nothing had been done in the property
since
since 1970s.
All these buildings are some of the long-standing businesses. I mean, ours is an institution. I mean,
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
a few places you can get a Sunday haircut too, by the way. Just so you know.
That's right. And
I know Miss McDowell doesn't know anything about that, but
and everyone very embracing.
Thank you, Mayor. I
very
appreciate that,
friendly,
man.
You know, it
Put a
is
part
an
in it,
excellent
man.
shop.
I noticed you got some new fades going.
You wish, man.
A little farther down the street, coming up toward Two Notch Road at 3830 West Beltline, is a gift store, spiritual essence. It's Avatar Essentials. And Daniel, you're talking about that sign.
I know it makes
Oh,
a big
wait till you
difference.
see what I did.
I've seen it. I drive by there all the time.
Oh, sweet.
I eat lunch around the corner from there a lot too.
Great. But we had, we replaced some security lighting. We actually removed asphalt and made some more permeable surfaces because we did some tree planting and we installed a monument style sign, added the dimensional address numerals, parking lot enhancement. We replaced the entire interior ceiling. We did 2 sections of flooring accents inside and paint. And when we talk about the work that we do inside, I know that we can't see it. But when you go in, it's like Melissa and I were talking. It's like a cake. It can look good. Icing looks good. And you take a bite of it, but if the inside isn't any good, you're not going to go back for seconds. Store looks kind of nice on the outside. You go on in, but if the inside doesn't have that same character, you might not, return to that store. So it's sustainability that we're looking at when we look at the interior, and we're getting more precise about that, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Total project $21,663, and the business owner, Miss Clarice Rosington, their family has owned this since the 1950s. It's been several different things, and then her uncle, I believe, who had a business in there, passed away, and it fell to her, and now they've created a trust that is now going on to her nieces. So this will be, a legacy real estate ownership. But you can see the ceiling. I do have the before and the after side by side here. You can see our security lighting that's dangling by a cord. Yes. A close up. There you are. There it is, Daniel. The
Yeah.
difference between taking those semi-permanent signs, which are allowable in a commercially zoned area.
That's new. It wasn't before. You had 30 days and Mark Malott would be knocking on your door.
Yeah, they're
right.
supposed to be time
That's right.
sensitive, though.
But you can see we added a palmetto. Even today, the owner has invested more money and have added the small ornamentals. We only do permanent style improvements. A tree is considered more permanent than any of the soft plants. But there's a great look at before and after. Clothing, books.
How'd you get to plant a palmetto there? I thought that was against the city landscape.
No.
It doesn't contribute to your landscape plan. It is not against the.
Right.
Say that again.
Oh, believe me.
It doesn't get calculated as part of your requirements to make the landscape plan. But you can
Wait, you can plant them at the fairgrounds, but you can't plant them at Jay's Corner.
What's
as
up
far
with
as the
that?
landscape ordinance goes.
I tell you what, these folks over here.
Thank you. So, Mr. Davis?
I'll do it now. Do you know what percent of the businesses that we assist are owned by the occupants versus those that are renting? Have we looked at that yet?
I can certainly put together numbers. I haven't not observed it in this particular instance, except for Clarice. Every one of them owns
They own it?
the building and the business. Yes.
So Jerry Lynn, trick question. What, since you spent time with these folks, what's the secret to 100% black seed oil?
It is hot on the market. Yes, give it to him. Give it to him, Brett.
My husband takes that.
Okay. He's not, he'll talk
This
to
is
you
my
later.
first,
Formal presentation during work session, so he's a little anxious.
well, when I first walked in for the first time, and I've never done so much work for so little in my life. Loan, I was like, it's $10,000, you know.
Bada bing, bada boom.
But I walked in and the incense hit me, and I was like, I couldn't see it. But the black seed oil is supposed to be used as a cleanser? I think.
Yes, it's a detox. It has many uses.
I did not partake.
Epsom salt.
No.
do that.
No.
That's what I've been
But
told.
I thought that's what rock and rye was for.
yeah, but
Y'all digress.
it's
Herbal
right.
cleanser or
It's,
something.
yeah, it's supposed to be good for you.
I learned something.
Is it?
Didn't know what it was for.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Yeah,
good.
it's supposed to be good for you.
Jewelry, books,
Yeah.
clothing,
Incense.
incense, crystals that you can draw power from. Crystals, okay. It really is a great
Yeah,
store.
but-
Please stop by. They
Epsom
open at
salt will
11
give you
a.m.
power.
during the week. Okay, so let's take a look real quick. Where have we been since 2010? Oh, I'm a poet and didn't know it. Okay, stop. We started in the downtown business improvement district. Then we went to Main and North Main. Then we hit Two Notch Road, which we did in 2 phases. We went from Taylor to Covenant and then Covenant to the end of the city limits, which is roughly short of Cushman, to give you an idea where that is. And most recently, Farrow Road and West Beltline. Well, you know, we've already started looking at where we're going next. We have been to most of the major corridors in the city limits, although we haven't covered all parts. So we're looking, okay, how do we, what's going to fuel this? We looked at, of course, community developments, revitalization, service area, their priority designated CD redevelopment areas, hub zones, opportunity zones, any federal programming, et cetera, to see where they overlaid. And we looked at a corridor that had not benefited from the program in the last 10 years. New is where we added in the violation data. I mean, what better way to try to figure out where small businesses need assistance is where are they getting code violations? We wanted to see if there were clusters.
Well, add to that
And
is
it worked.
as folks are trying to develop,
She's in the
helping
role,
them
man.
get
She's
through.
in the role.
Trying to help her.
He's good.
I'm trying to help here.
That caffeine.
Is that the AN section? What was that? I heard
It's good commentary.
He is on a roll
All right,
today.
well, guess what? The information showed that North Millwood, a section from Taylor to King, and on Hardin Street, pretty much from across the street from Drew Wellness, where the train overpass is, 2 blocks.
All right, one more time. One more time. All right.
Here you go.
I got
There it
Millwood.
is.
She's pitching.
I knew
You're
that
missing.
one. I heard that. I knew that one. Okay. Okay.
So that's the whole thing, Hardin.
Right.
From
We're
Drew.
looking at, from Drew Wellness.
So.
This is really cool stuff right there. The green thing would be the park.
So
It's got me tuned out.
I will. Okay, so I hear what you're saying.
Right.
Does it, because of where you're going though, does it also make sense to do Gervais between Millwood and Hardin?
Makes sense.
Yes, possibly.
Got two burned out buildings on those.
Right. Now, we don't do demolition. We only improve facade.
How far east is that?
Code
Jerry?
enforcement does demolition.
How far east you go? 2 Notch? Where'd you go? How far east?
Out 2 Notch, all
2
the
Notch
way
Millwood.
to Cushman.
No. How far east of Taylor? Is that Taylor? What's that right there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right there, the corner.
2 Notch.
What's happening in
Millwood.
What's happening in the restaurant there? What's happening there? There's construction happening in the old fried chicken place.
It was on Millwood?
Yeah, what is that? Is it gonna be fried chicken again?
Oh, the churches?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. They stripped it because they have to defranchise it. But
Oh, at the corner.
yeah, right there.
Providence Hospital.
Something happened there.
I know, but that's what. But nobody signed up.
That would be this corner.
Okay.
So that's what I was saying. So if you're going to do Hardin and you're doing Millwood, just connect it right there and do.
Right, you're talking about right here. And, oh, she told me not to touch it because it would do that thing. Oh, but this is another view. Council districts. 2, 3. Okay, we're touching.
How much money are we talking about? How much we have? How much do they have available?
I was thinking, but really both of them. I forgot about Taylor, but I was going to say right there, both of those. Just make that a square, here, that and there. Just because there's not that many businesses, but some of them could benefit. I mean, I'm thinking.
Right, I'm going to have to look at the types of violations.
Right, yeah. Because like where Steve was talking about where Trojan, and is it Palmetto if somebody buys.
No, she opened back up. She opened 3 days later. They closed just because somebody died.
No, they closed. No,
There was a rumor.
no, she closed because her son died.
Right.
And then, like a month later, she.
She was open the other day when I went by there.
Oh, there.
It's open now.
All right. Well, I'm going to Palmetto's this weekend.
I tell you, if
But
that
if
place
they're-
did
yeah.
close, it'd be the one place I'd buy. I love that place.
Shirley, let me ask
Palmetto.
you a question.
But like, she could benefit from.
Since we.
This is the most interesting meeting in a long time. How far?
Since we've tentatively identified 1 or 2 new areas.
Right.
What's the possibility of revisiting an area?
Right.
We talked about that, and we were thinking about adding a new component, and it would be a facade maintenance program. Whereas if there was a area that we had in the past, maybe within the last 3 to 5 years, and we had some buildings or some businesses there that did not participate,
And that's my point.
and if the ownership changed,
That's my point.
then maybe we set aside a certain amount of funding.
I'll be honest with y'all. This is all really good, but the reality of it is that what's killing a lot of these small businesses is that the taxes that they're having to pay because their rents are going up because the landlord's having to pay so much. And the thing, we have to figure out a program to how to help them because by
Yeah, you're right. We need to talk about that. Let me, just an observation, and I think, the plan to go into other areas is good. I don't have a problem with that. When I look at what appears to be the total cost, when you threw in the Farrell Road Beltline, area, it's only $125,000. Right. And,
Most of the money went to the parks.
Wait a minute. Wait. The
I thought Mr. Moss had passed away.
Let Ms. Davis finish his.
when we look at the areas that are successful, businesses, new businesses, that 125,000, sometimes that ends up going to one of those businesses. So what I'm hoping we can do is really add to the total in that pot. We're so limited, 125,000. I would think that the areas that we really want to see develop, we could find a little more resources to put in there. Right. That's number one. Right. And then number two, kind of agree with, I do agree with Daniel, because we've been kind of talking about this over the years. What else can we do to make it easier to open your door? Do business.
I promise you, hopefully during our retreat, we're going to have an in-depth discussion about that.
We talked about some creative ways of doing that, and I'd like to see us have some, put more meat on that bone.
And this could be a great opportunity to do exactly that.
And there's some other cities that do little creative things to help small businesses, real small businesses, truly small
Our
businesses.
truly small businesses, which are the ones that we generally are helping.
Okay.
I did want to include that we're looking at this area, Hardin, and I believe it mostly applies to Hardin Street. There's a design district and a historic preservation area. So there will be a little extra approval that may have to happen depending on where the business is, and what they apply to do. But just wanted to make sure everyone was
just a little bit of.
Can we go back to the drawing, please? It seems like on the Hardin Street part, from Gervais down to Blossom, a lot of those properties have been purchased to do apartments or whatever project that is. How many more businesses left in there that could use this program? I mean, it's not that many really. When you think about it, it's not that many businesses still there.
Actually, there are. I mean, I know that 5 Points has a great number of businesses that generally have revenue brought in by sales of more than 51% of alcohol. Accurate statement.
Okay, well,
Okay,
let me just take 5 Points out. Yeah, let me
and
just
we
take.
have pulled them out, but there are still at least 20, a minimum of 20, on both of these boulevards that are commercially zoned and are still eligible. What this picture is showing you the ones that have violations that are eligible, and that will be our priority to approach those to help them address those violations. But you'll see other sites that have no green dots, but they are eligible for the program.
I guess I was trying to do the section between Gervais and Green Street, not necessarily all the way down. That's the section I was saying. There's really not that many businesses left anymore.
But you look at Saluda Avenue, there's 3 retail spaces open today that could use a facade grant.
No, I agree. I mean, 5
encourage,
Points needs it.
I got 2 retailers that we're showing some spaces down there too, and I think they're going to look for that because they're making trying to help. They're taking a little bit of gamble.
Right.
Hopefully, they won't get protested.
We are going to be, due to budget constraints, held to only businesses on Hardin Street. We will not be able to do 5 Points within their commercial boundaries at this point. But let's look at that. The available sources for where we are now, 2018, 2019, we know that we've got $88,336. We do have a small amount $55,348 remaining from this Farrow Road West Beltline area of Community Development Block Grant funds. We have asked for an amendment to take that money, close it out of the old program, and use it on these new target areas. That is being processed now, but we don't have an answer.
You don't do any, you haven't done any restaurants or anything to help with any food? See, this is where.
I mean, they're eligible as long as they are
But
not
see,
a
this is where.
franchise restaurant.
But this is where. Why franchise?
Said as long as they're not.
Not a franchise.
Not a franchise.
Right. Well, they should have their own corporate, pockets.
Well, a Yogi Bear chicken franchise would not be, yeah. That's fried chicken in Hartsville, South Carolina. Come on,
You
man.
know, some of
You got to get out. For a man who's out and about of the world, your culinary knowledge is very low.
While you're riding Uber around town.
Here's a conversation I had with somebody, I think it was yesterday. Going back to the small businesses, what it takes for them to open the door and stay afloat. One of the observations that was on the table also was that the other challenge to some of these smaller businesses is how they get started, what they really know in terms of entrepreneurship, basic training of running a business. I think we can do a little more of that too in some areas.
He's reading our minds.
Well, because I think you also you scratch your head when certain business owners just turn you down. They don't want nothing to do with you.
Yes.
Yeah, I've tried to promote that also.
But we've opened it up for free scholarships for any previous facade participants, or CRR participants, especially those that Jerry Land was working with so closely with and working with their budgets and their financial statements, because that information has to be submitted to us to process their forgivable loans. So we intentionally have reached out to them to make sure that they have access to participate in this program at no cost to them. Not sure if we've gotten any feedback yet, but we are looking at trying to help them internally with their internal infrastructure of their businesses, helping them build their businesses.
So let's get Mr. Rickman. We're gonna try to put a bone. Sorry, you done, Sam? You done? Okay, we're gonna try to put a bone.
I think we got to figure out, moving into 19, how we take these programs and tie into a better program to get people into business as well. They need to be tied together. And today I saw an example of, somebody across the river getting to do a whole renovation in a 15,000 square foot strip center, and it took them 2 days to get a permit. And I saw a space that somebody did on Main Street, and they added a counter. Didn't change HVAC, didn't change electrical, didn't change anything, no flooring, nothing. 3 weeks. I mean, y'all, we got to change the way we operate.
What we did want to mention is if we are awarded an amendment and be able to use the CDBG, we'll have a total of $143,684 to kick this off. If it is unable to be awarded, we'll be operating with $88,336. The reduced budget may require us to phase the program over more than one fiscal year or adjusting the project funding limits. Right now, we've got them set up eligible for a facade up to $15,000, for a commercial loan up to $10,000. Maybe it changes to 10 and 5. There are some things we can do. I've got details on some of the violations and what they are, and I think a lot of them can be addressed for less money. So we're hoping to be able to do several more small projects, if possible. I was just talking about funding limits. Both the facade and the forgivable loan project require a 2-year monitoring period as long as the owner or tenant maintain the improvements as installed for that period. They're good to go, and the amount that we invested on their behalf, that first 80%, is forgiven. Same full 100% is forgiven with the loan. Should they not maintain it or not repair it within a feasible amount of time, they'd be considered in default, and then they would be asked to repay whatever the prorated amount is. In order to be eligible for the loan project, they have to do a facade project. We want to see improvement on the outside because that's what we're driving by. That's where, our taxpayers are driving by and looking. You have to be applying for a facade project in order to get even a look at being approved for a commercial loan project. On top of that, the commercial loan project cannot exceed the cost of the facade project. You can't come and do a $500 sign on the outside and then spend $10,000 on the inside of the business. Again, we're trying to ensure that the exterior is in great shape, sharp, safe, lit, that type of thing, before we get into the interior. Here are, these are 17 properties that are currently in violation on Hardin Street. We've got 16 currently on violation within this target area, within those boundaries that I spoke about, and 16 on Millwood. As I said, there's a minimum of 20 additional commercial properties in these target areas that are still eligible. They just don't have violations, but they are still eligible for the program. One thing we did do was kind of limit the improvements. What do the violations show? What do they mostly need? So we are looking at doing facade improvements to awnings if they need carpentry, lighting, masonry, painting, roofing. It must be a peak-style roof, and it has to be clearly visible from the major corridor. If it's this way and the street's out here, I can only do the front. The owner's going to have to pay for the back. If it's this way and it's clearly visible from both sides, I can do the whole thing. Flat roof, no can do. And that's not really new, but we just need to state it. Of course, we can do signage and windows and doors. The difference with the commercial loan project is, again, we're looking at sustaining that business or sustaining the life of that building. Commercial loan improvements will only be done to what is kind of considered permanent infrastructure to the interior of the building. We will paint or repair the walls, paint or repair the ceilings, the floors, cabinets that are built in, not the ones that you purchase, that's a fixture. Cabinets built in or similar built-in fixtures are eligible. Lighting, interior lighting. If the owner also wants to improve ADA accessibility, above, like adding a ramp or grab bars, that's a plus. That makes it more appealing to customers who need access. And parking lot repair is only cut, patch, seal coat, restripe. There's no going down to the dirt or anything like that because that just opens up a whole big can of worms.
One time we were talking about surveillance cameras, part of the program.
We have removed that from the list because of driven by the need. The need really didn't come down to whether they had security cameras or not.
I thought the discussion was to help the police department, with any footage or anything like that might have.
That was a bonus.
But if it's not on here, it doesn't mean that it cannot be done. If there's something that we encounter where it's something that the owner really wants to have done or the applicant wants to have done, we can always take it back to the CRR committee that we have and have them look at it and consider it there. So if it's something that is needed, we can certainly make sure.
CDZ had a separate program for safety and security.
Right. Yes, that kind of picked up the slack on that.
Jerry Lynn,
Yes.
we're going to try to wrap up. So
Okay.
what would be your
Good, because I've only got one more slide.
Awesome.
I knew you were thinking that. So, where do we go from here? Here it is. Community development wisely is now targeting the limited amount of entitlement funds they get to specific large city projects. This funding source may not be available to us very much longer. And so we wanted to let you know in 2019-2020, the The OVO is going to be requesting general budget appropriation for CRR that's higher than any previous years. I don't know if Melissa had any additional comments on that.
I think what we need to do is take some of the comments made today and make sure that we're targeting the right areas based on the suggestions by council members to make sure that we're really zeroing in on those connected areas to look at. But we probably will need additional funds, but we want to make sure that it's intentional, what we're asking for, and that we can spend it within the time allotted to spend it.
With the 88,000, if they use 10,000 in commercial loan and 15, if they do use the whole amount, we can do 3 projects.
One final comment before the bell rings. I'm hoping that we could kind of start to think how we can really take advantage of opportunity zones in commercial development, business development, and especially in areas, again, that's classified as economically deprived and so forth and so on.
We will, opportunity zones, we actually looked at that.
Yes, we did.
That was one of the criteria that we looked at. We're gonna make sure we keep Ryan in the loop, and we're part of that discussion too regarding the opportunity zones. And we work very closely with CDBG and other areas across the city.
Cecil Hannibal with
Cecil,
Eau Claire.
all the development corporations. We do wanna make sure that we're being inclusive and we're layering to make sure our efforts go as far as we can.
So we thank you very much for your time.
Great job, you all.
Thank you.
And we'll look at, I think in general, the consensus of council was the recommended area that they suggested, right?
Yes,
That
we
area.
wanted to just to get a
We got to
general
keep
endorsement.
rotating.
We need to
Yeah.
carve out for North Columbia, but other than that,
Yeah.
Right.
So I think you have an endorsement
Got any
for
park grants?
for the area
I
that
think
you,
so.
thank you guys.
thank you.
Of course.
Thanks so much. Great job. Final presentation is on opportunity zones and the city's prospectus. Mr. Ryan Coleman, Director of Economic
You've
Development.
gotten it so many times, you don't even remember the first time.
It's 4 o'clock.
I'm good right now.
Move as expeditiously as possible.
It's important.
I can't control the commentary, though.
Clock's running.
Teresa?
Yes.
You want to say something about Nikki while she's here?
Oh, there she is. We were looking for you
So you
earlier,
still
Nikki.
got a position.
I just wanted to take the opportunity because this is going to be Nikki's last council meeting with us today. She is, after how many years with the city? Almost 12 years with the city. She has the opportunity to kind of help expand her family business and spend more time with her children. And so we're excited for her, but it's bittersweet because she's been such a great asset to our city clerk's office. And Erica will be trying to fill some big shoes.
You want to give up all this craziness to hang out with your family? What's wrong with you?
I need
You got to come on.
We'll miss you. We'll miss you, Nikki.
You gotta learn to ignore your family.
But not happy at all.
I'm sure your children are going to be so excited that Mama's going to be spending more time with them. Yeah.
For the first 30 days.
Right, I was saying. All right.
Brian, let's rock and roll. Let's talk about OZs.
All right. You're qualified to come up here and give this, Mayor. You probably sat in on about.
Rephrase that.
Okay. Good afternoon, members of council. Real quick, as part of the work that's going into the opportunity zone planning process, a lot of cities around the U.S. have started trying to lay the groundwork and prepare, how to connect the dots between these opportunity zones, between investors, and between folks that might have qualified projects. The cities that have gotten out in front of this have started putting together a prospectus for their areas, and we have done so as well in the Economic Development Department. We've got about 28, 30 slides in here. Really the goal of this is just kind of serve as that connection point, though is we want to communicate with these investors and connect them with the opportunities.
And it's fair enough because we've been eating, drinking, digesting this probably more than everyone else has the last year or so. And this is something that it's big and bold, but it's happened pretty fast. So I think everyone, if you haven't had time to spend with Senator Scott or someone else who's been the leader, you may remember there was a bill called the Investing in Opportunity Act, bipartisan bill that Senator Scott, along with Senator Booker from New Jersey, Representative Ron Kine from Wisconsin, Pat Tiberi from Ohio, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans advanced for a few years, trying to create these opportunity zones, census tracts that show a high level of persistent poverty or some challenges. Places where if you give them that extra push, where investor opportunities will exist, where market traction and social need meet. The governors were empowered after this was slipped into the tax bill by Senator Scott and signed into law by the president last December. The governors were charged with identifying X number of tracts in their respective states. There was a maximum number of tracts. We submitted, our staff worked together to submit a bunch of different tracts to the governor. They were all across the city. He designated 12 zones across the region, 8 of them, I guess, in Richland County, and 4 across the river, I believe. North Columbia, Elmwood to I-20, 2 Notch, the old Columbia Mall, and the piece of property right next to it, the old smaller mall right next to it, and a few across in Bull Street, are generally the spaces here in this area. It allows folks to avoid capital gains tax liability, to defer it for a period of time, encouraging basically patient capital in places, again, that might not normally get it. Invest it, and if they invest it, they're able to delay payment of those capital gains liabilities and for a period that might go up to 10, 15 years. I forget the maximum number. You can talk about that, Ryan, maybe in the presentation. And anything that they make, the money they make in those investments that have to be made through qualified opportunity funds, that there's still a whole lot of rules to be determined there, they pay no capital gains liability on those profits. So it really is an incredible opportunity to drive. I mean, the Secretary Mnuchin has said $100 billion. My guess is, just based on the activity we're seeing, there's going to be a whole lot more activity in that space. It's important to note that unlike empowerment zones, where there probably were, between empowerment zones and renewal communities, there are like 40 of them around the country. There are 8,700 plus opportunity zones, urban, suburban, and rural, all across the country. So every zone is not going to see robust investment in participation. So kind of getting out ahead, identifying the right opportunities. The greatest concern we heard, we met with Secretary Mnuchin the first week of September, spent a lot of time with Senator Scott and everyone else, including people who see some real potential here, is that the capital will just go to deals that were going to happen anyway. No one wants that. You want it to go to the deals that just need that extra push, and also find creative ways to pull people back into the American economic main street, help create jobs and opportunities for folks who live and have lived in those census tracts. So this is Ryan and his team put together this prospectus just to start kind of distinguishing ourselves from other communities. A lot of communities are out ahead putting out their own prospectus. Louisville, Oklahoma City, South Bend, and a few others. But we've been constantly engaged in actually providing some direction and help. As the regulations, the first tranche of regulations came out in October. We'll be submitting some comments to the council mayors, maybe to the city as well, trying to, again, encourage the spirit of the law to be followed as well. Those are due by the end of this month.
So what are our zones?
Is it one here?
With it's the geography of the opportunity zone. Here it is on a bigger map. But for the most part, we start down here at Elmwood. It runs, for the most part, up North Main, Monticello to I-20. I-20, it goes all the way out to where the Columbia Mall is. That's not in the city. That's one of the county's tracks, though. And then it comes back down 2 notch. It catches Farrow Road and kind of weaves along that track. Part of that is on Farrow Road. Part of it's the rail line that runs there.
I was about to say, over the Nebu.
Comes back down over here and catches the Bull Street property as well. Those properties all qualify to be in the opportunity zone. Adjacent properties also qualify as well. So if you've got a situation where there's a property that's on one side of the street to one that is in the opportunity zone, you can kind of catch it via being adjacent as well. And the mayor's right. I think the federal government kind of realized we have 2 issues that they want to tackle. We have a lot of private sector capital that's sitting out there that people are not reinvesting and putting back into the market because of the tax liabilities, and so that's just sitting there immobile. And at the same time, we've got a lot of economically distressed areas around here. A lot of this is targeted at rural areas as well, where you need some type of infusion. And so they kind of looked at this and said, what's the best way to marry these 2 issues? To get folks investing their money and to get them putting their money into these neighborhoods and economies that need it. And so kind of from a lot of thought and Senator Scott's work, the OZ program was born. I think we submitted 22 locations, or 20 plus from the city. We got 8 approved, and then I think the county got 2 more approved.
They're census tracts.
Yes.
Nothing for District 4.
Okay.
Once again,
Oh,
Sam comes out on top.
Oh, it's always one.
It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that not only, an area across the road that's contiguous to the track.
Well, I'm gonna tell you,
But an
Leesburg
area-
Road
no,
ain't
yeah,
across the road
no.
from North Main.
But no, depending on how they draw those lines, you probably can get something in that area.
Probably.
As an adjacent area, not just.
Thanks for the glimmer of hope, Sam. I
Appreciate that.
I'm serious. That's my
We
understanding.
put this together just as kind of a start. This is a perspective. This is basically a conversation starter at this point, to hand to folks and to demonstrate, some things that are going on in the city, some of the demographic information, and some of the locations that we think would be ideal, good starting points for some projects.
So Ryan, you said to hand out to folks. Have you considered also having this on the website?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We can do that. We're still kind of making some tweaks to this, and I think we, as we get some direction from council, staff is meeting in early January as well to talk about this. We may have some more changes. The way to think about this is kind of twofold. I treat it as 2 different incentives. So there's the incentive on the front end development. So an investor comes in and has $1 million, and they've got a capital gains liability on that, but they want to defer some of that and mitigate some of that tax expense. By investing that money into the OZ program, they get a temporary deferral on any of their capital gains taxes. That temporary deferral lasts for up to 5 years. If their investment stays in a OZ project for 5 to 7 years, they get a 10% reduction on the capital gains tax. If it stays in there for 7 years and above, then they get 15% reduced off the capital gains on the top. So the investor is getting the temporary deferral, and they are also getting the stepped up basis of the elimination of 10 to 15% of that capital gains tax if they stay in for 5 to 7 years. Now, the asset that they invest into, if they continue to hold and own that asset for a period of 10 years or more before selling it, they get a back-end incentive of having a permanent exclusion on any of the taxes, the gains taxes related to the sale of that asset. So you're able to realize some benefits on the front end of this and on the back end if you're a long-term holder of an asset. And this is just kind of a different chart that outlines, the deferral for under 5 years, 10% taxes, 15%, and then the 10-year benefit. here's some demographic information on the city and our MSA as it's changed over the past 8 years. Population continues to go up, and we keep telling folks we're going to continue to see that happening for the next 20 or 30 years. City population.
Till they get their tax bill in the Northeast. Hey, I'm telling you, y'all laugh when they get that 700 mil plus.
The city OZ is on. We've got 2 tracks in there.
You need to really locate.
The population of that zone is over 22,000. That's from 2016 statistics. The population 16 years and above is 16,000, and 25 and above is 13,000. That's workforce. That's something that we want to sell to these investors here who are coming in and looking at either multifamily type projects or folks that are looking at doing a business investment. Here's the socioeconomic overview, and you'll see how the statistics kind of stack up against the MSA and the city right here. High African American population here in the opportunity zone, and you see the poverty rate right here is statistically higher than it is in both the city and the MSA. Meanwhile, the household income is a lot lower. I think our average household income for Richland County is about $46,000. People in the zone are at $30,000, and that's an area we want to try to impact. And then your unemployment number is at about 20%. We also put together an employment profile for folks that are looking at particular types of businesses and what the workforce is in those industries. So out here you'll just see breakouts between industry code, number of people employed in those positions, what those numbers were in 2017, and what they were back in 2002, so we can demonstrate we're seeing the most growth in employment. Largest NGO employers. Dropping out a lot of names on there that are going to be a surprise to anyone in the room. And we did just kind of a small map of where they are. They are all located kind of in and around that OZ as well, with the exception of a few outliers.
Airmark. Airmark.
Yeah. And then here's the cumulative employment percent change year over year. We have continued to see good employment growth in the city and the MSA. You kind of see where
Are those segregated from private sector versus government?
What's that?
Are those segregated from private sector and government?
That's an all-in number right there. If you want,
I want to know the difference.
if you want, we can pull that out and add that in there as well.
Huh?
And here's a list of some of the transformative capital investments that we have seen over the past 7 to 8 years.
You count the Hilton Home too?
This placeholder. We can swap it out.
Is it open yet?
It will be.
Hey, in 2020, you can stay there.
By the time the OZ closes out.
What's the Empire?
Yeah, what's the Empire?
The Empire, that's the student housing project on the Bernstein. Yeah. And I think this number
Subsidized, 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 subsidized.
Not cut those high taxes Daniel's talking about. So one way or the other.
No towers, public.
But we
Public.
pulled the numbers. There's $3 billion plus of residential and commercial investments since 2008.
3 billion.
Crane free.
All right, wait, whoa. You gonna count Spirit Communications Park?
Yeah,
as
he
commercial
is.
investment?
37 million.
And the law school? Come on now, y'all are stretching it now. And a hotel that's not even open.
Surprised the client is not on there.
Key takeaways. We do have a well-educated, diverse, young, and growing population. I think City of Columbia and Richland County, we typically rate at the top as far as the education and the age of our workforce under the age of 65. City's household income, I mean, this is a pretty good number, and it exceeds our state median. We've got 60,000 living and competitive wage rates, property taxes aside.
Between all the colleges, there's 60.
Focus areas?
That's a lot.
And these are just some of the key areas that break out within the opportunity zone itself. We just did talking a little bit about Bull Street because there's activity there, and I think we'll see some interest there. So laid out some strategies as far as the type of developments that developers could do out there, mixed use, and then just promoting some of the assets such as the gigabit fiber, the large undeveloped urban tract, and the variety of uses that it can incorporate.
I guess to that point, is more maybe a Steve question, because there are developers who, have been trying to get out in front of it and have been out there. And I know someone mentioned to me Bull Street, and I gave them Robert's name, and then they said they were really non-responsive. Have Bob and Robert been part of kind of being a, okay?
Yes, no, I'm not sure who that was. Not good. But they're very excited about the fact.
And I don't know how real this deal is, but the person that contacted me and they said we would love to go to Bull Street, and I said, well, that's not the city, that's the developer. Here's their number.
Come on down. Did you ask them what they wanted?
No, I mean, I know they told me what the project was, but I don't.
We'll talk a little more.
Yeah.
Okay, just a list of some of the amenities and projects on Bull Street. From the conversations that we've had, mixed use and multifamily seems to be the path of least resistance for a lot of these OZ type projects, and I think that's an area that we can focus on and hopefully achieve some low hanging fruit. I think based on the recommendations we've heard, everybody's saying get out there early, get involved, and get some low hanging fruit, get a couple wins in with the program, so you have these successes that you can continue to have.
So have you run analysis on how the opportunity zone affects a potential project versus the cost of the taxes and everything else? Because, for us to have a significant advantage, at 8,700 opportunity zones is a lot. So there's going to be a lot of competition. But if the capital gains relief doesn't help offset, because at the end of the day, as we continue to struggle, is if you've seen the numbers, we got 54% people renting, taxes going up, and it's making it more and more unaffordable. So this is great for the developer, but for the life of the project and being able to get it passed down to the people who need the incentive, how does that play? And I think we need to be prepared to tackle that issue.
To that point, I think that's why, particularly this page maybe. What's coming next is most important. We ought to be thinking about ways in which we can encourage the type of investment we want to see. Right. So the macro issue about taxes that we discussion that we need to have.
It's all passed through to the people who can't afford it.
Yeah, with the school district and the county and everything else. That's still that macro discussion that still has to be had. And that's the big challenge, the big beast. But if we are going to encourage or incentivize, if it's through expedited permitting, whatever it happens to be, the types of things we want to see that speak to the spirit of the program, then we ought to be prepared to do that. So y'all just start thinking, and Ryan will share this, and maybe might be helpful to even just get another one pager. Hayward, Mary, have some on those Z's, because I think as creatively as we can think about what we want to see happening, I think it'd be worth, Sam, this is yours and Ed's district primarily, maybe having some community discussions, asking folks, tell them about the program, and perfect world, what would you want to see, how we can help direct private sector capital into this space, thinking about the number of local investors that might be interested in this, not just trying to go get New York or California or Chicago money, folks who are interested in getting an 8-9% return. Doesn't have to be a double-digit return for a smart investment in our community. Think about resiliency funding. Do we want to quickly get people investing in in solar panels, or what can we do to connect folks who aren't connected by broadband. I mean, there's so many different ways. Do we need to create more housing for working folks or for seniors? And again, ways in which there's a local strategy that marries up with a national strategy that speaks to the values of the city. And I think that all these places where there's been a great need, but the capital hadn't been there. How can we direct which is relatively patient capital into this space to try and meet those needs? So I think it's our job to kind of put our own personal touch on it, and that's why Ryan's laying this out. And I will tell you, and we got one deal done already too. It's not one that we did, but we some of you may know there's an old movie theater, Two Nuts Road, not the one at Columbia Mall, but the one that was a nightclub that was right over there. The meeting place now owns the whole shopping center.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, in the back. Yeah, in the back.
So the meeting place, just over a year ago, wanted to reopen the movie theater there. The numbers just didn't add up.
Right behind where USW used to be.
They talked to an investor.
Right behind Columbia Mall.
Yeah, it didn't add up. After we sat down with the bishop and shared the information about the opportunity zone, he went back, and I think they opened up this past week. I mean, so it's a $2 million deal. The majority of it is private. We'll talk more about it, but I think it's 30 jobs, so it's a kind of investment you want to see. That it's not, again, just a real estate deal that was going to happen one way or the other. This would not have happened but for this new opportunity. So, Mr. Davidson, Ryan?
No, I'm agreeing, and that's what we sort of hinted at earlier. We've got to make things happen. Nobody's going to just pop in and say, I'm good. And but I like the idea too of having some dialogue with these areas, because sometimes expectations are not realistic.
That was the point I was going to make.
Right.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
And also though, there are opportunities out there that represent what we want to see, and I'd like to see us tighten our belts and go after it too. And to convince somebody that this is an area where you can make a difference, you come and we will work with you, and we'll make it easier. We'll do what it takes to get you there within the bounds of the law.
Getting them there is only half the battle.
Right. Yeah. You got
It's getting the community to support it,
Right.
and that's been our challenge in the past. And I think, as we move forward, I think it's very important that we have realistic expectations, and that folks, when come, they support it. It's going to be it's going to take a lot of hand holding.
Right. And in areas when we make the right thing happen, it's going to also be attractive to others who want to come in and make an investment.
Think about everything that we want to see in communities. It doesn't always have to be built by the city. I mean, think about parks and rec facilities that host AAU basketball. Think about business incubators of all types, and commercial kitchens. That, again, things that you want to see, but doesn't need to be built by the private sector. So yeah. So
And
I'm sorry, Ryan.
economic impact has just been a component of these OZ discussions. As you've heard, the social impact is very real. And somebody asked me the other day, they said, how does a developer not just come in and just take advantage of this program and do something and make some money? I said, well, that's where it's critical that we have this front end buy-in with the community, and that there's some type of unified vision on the front end of what's good there, what's going to support the community. And I think developers will look favorably when you can demonstrate to them, you've already got the buy-in, we've already jumped that hurdle for you. Now it's on you just to kind of get all the other economics in place.
Great to see some success.
Sure. I just went through and kind of highlighted some general information on some of these sites. city-owned property, I've kind of put those.
We have a plan.
Stone manufacturing on North Main Street. Clearly, this is a huge opportunity if we can get something good going on there finally after many years. The Sunset Drive parcel, still under control of the Columbia Empowerment Zone. Be good to get something moving along there.
Some workforce housing there for the hospital system makes more sense than a hotel. Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
That is the idea, is the hotel to serve as the hospital.
Yeah, but you got a problem, is you got a lot of employees that could.
Commercial property on Fairfield Road where the food line is, not in the best condition. There's a lot of vacancies there. I pulled the information on CoStar today. Another good opportunity to do something that would serve the neighborhoods around it as well. And then, kind of just dovetailing at the end, a general list of some of the statewide incentives that we typically talk with projects about when they're looking at the area. Some additional incentives in there as well. These are more of some of the traditional economic development incentives that we have for projects as well, such as the FILO deals that we use on properties for some of the property tax. Little information about Ready SC and Apprenticeship South Carolina, since they are two of our workforce development programs that are pretty well regarded around the state. And again, that feeds back into we've got a bunch of young population out there. We'd like to get some with the unemployment rate, and with the amount of youth out there, we'd love to get some projects going on where we could get some apprenticeships and things of that nature rolling and get more people into the workforce.
Can they use our workforce housing incentive and opportunity zone? Could you pair them together?
I don't think there's any regulations against it.
Nothing against using this along with local incentives, with new markets, with historic preservation. You can stack it. And obviously, the rules are still very, very loose and being defined. I expect this first round of regs we'll have comments in this month, maybe a second round probably in a few months, maybe in the spring. But it happened fast. So some of the predicate steps, putting some form around these things has yet to happen.
Not that you're bundling it, but one can serve as an attractor for the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depending on who you talk to.
The type of development, the type of stuff we want to see.
And so that's it for the most part. Next steps, we've got a city staff meeting after the New Year's holiday where we'll get together with the development corporations, planning, have some internal talk. The governor has a Opportunity Zone conference on January 25th. I think that conference has already sold out, so that will be pretty well attended. Good opportunities to make some connections there. And then really at this point, I think it's just a process of trying to identify. I think we're all kind of familiar, with properties in the area that might be a good starting point, but where are the investors, where are the developers, and how can we marry those folks together? And again, like y'all said, getting with the communities beforehand and getting buy-in so that we can kind of, create that nucleus of support for a successful project.
Good job.
Ready?
One thing I was gonna bring to y'all's attention on the 15th, when we're gonna be here with interviews with you all, just getting in later on the 14th than we anticipated. So, we're thinking she'll need a good bit of time on the 15th to get through all of your interviews. Are y'all willing to consider not having a work session on the 15th, and we just have the evening?
We're at your disposal. You tell us what to do, Madam Manager.
Well, that would be the recommendation from Madam Clerk. I'm taking direction from her. Tyler likes to keep it pretty high level, and we're working on a pretty tight agenda. But I know there's some things you want to get in during the retreat discussion that we're going to factor in. So
Have you determined
it's
a
really
place?
important to have those interviews.
Yeah, it is. Have we got a place?
Yes, sir.
Busby. Oh, okay.
New location, new facility. out on
Nobody will
Busby
find us out there.
Street.
Are they gonna let the people come across the bridge?
I think
Absolutely.
got a couple of additions for you.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to receipt of legal advice related to a pending, threatened, or potential claim under Code 30-4-70A, James Morris versus City. Kirby Bishop et al. Versus City. Receipt of legal advice related to matters covered by attorney-client privilege pursuant to 70A2, entity fees. Flood property acquisition, discussion of matters related to proposed location of expansion of services to encourage location or expansion of industries or other business pursuant to 70A2, Finley Park, parking incentives, grant request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please question. Call the roll.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
We're going downstairs, Steve. We're going downstairs.
Yeah, I think, is it Hammond?
Upstairs, really.
No, but they only said we'll have it tonight. Oh, no, you got to. I completely forgot about it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend.
Why? An active group. I hadn't been active since '08.
We're going upstairs?
Gee,
So we had to do yours over.
that's where they're making a mistake. So when we get settled in, I'm gonna go change the legislation or something.
Yes, sir.